Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. I have some really important news to share with you because this is the type of information that you need as you get ready to file a claim, your first claim, a new claim, you're searching for another condition to add to try to increase your overall rating, that type of stuff. Now, I'm going to preface it with many of us end up having some sort of a weird, very narrowing line of vision when it comes to filing claims. And we often think that we need to prove that the military caused a condition in order to file that for service-connected benefits, right? Which would be disability compensation. And that's not true. The reality is, yes, of course, if the military caused X to you and you have that as an ongoing problem, of course you're going to be able to file a claim for that and be compensated appropriately. Now, in addition, though, it's really what the VA is looking for is not so much show me that the military caused X. They're more saying show me that your condition started during your time in service. Show me that your condition manifested during your time in service. Maybe it barely started to show up and then it got worse over the years, right? So what happens is that when we go to file a claim, you must have three things, right? And I'm going to talk to you about the last piece and how you can really find new things to file potentially. So the first thing is you have to have time in service, right? That gives you your window of opportunity. Two is you have to have that diagnosed condition. Self-diagnosing doesn't matter. You actually need to get diagnosed. Now there's weird little cases where you don't need a diagnosis. Sometimes the VA will take care of it, but primarily that's not the case. Then the third thing, and this is the one I'm going to talk about, is the nexus. The nexus is the link between your time in service and that diagnosed condition. So here's your window of opportunity. The VA wants you to show them that your diagnosed condition manifested in your time in service, during your time in service. So how do you do that? Well, you can prove, ideally, that you had complaints maybe, or you had some sort of mention of signs or symptoms of that condition or that condition by name during your time in service. Now, what you would need to do is get a copy of your records. Get a copy of those military records, your service treatment records, and start thumbing through them. This is the piece of advice that I give everybody. You need to go through all of your military records page by page and read through them and see if there's anything that you could pick out. Now, here's the piece to that. If you find something that you complained about and you still have that condition today or it's gotten worse over time, that piece of pie there inside that military record is the piece of pie that creates the nexus. Now you have a diagnosis from whenever, right? You have that nexus piece covered. You're going to be good to go. So I'm going to talk to you about ordering your records. Now, there's a little blurb here on the VA's website, and then I'm going to jump over to the National Archives site and go from there. So make sure you're hitting that thumbs up for me. I really appreciate it. It helps out a lot. If you're not a member, consider joining. It does help the channel out immensely, and it helps me to find you in the comments. So jumping back into it, request your military service records, including DD-214. That is on the VA's website. It says here, submit a military records request to get your DD-214 or other military service records through milConnect website. And as we scroll through here, it basically talks about setting up your login and so forth. And then it moves on. It says, once I've signed into milConnect, how do I request my DD-214 or other military records? So here it has a step-by-step. There's 5 steps. And I've never used milConnect to order my records. I've done it the other way, which I'll share with you in a minute. So this is just a way that's on the VA's website. So it says step 1, from your signed in homepage at the milConnect, right? From your signed in homepage, click or tap on the correspondence documentation section. Then select Defense Personnel Records Information. Then, and that's in the drop-down menu. Then it says number 2, choose the personnel file tab. Then number 3, select request my personnel file. Then number 4, fill out the form. In the document text section, check the box next to the document you would like to request. Number 5, click or tap on the Create and Send Request button. And that's it for that. And I may try that out just so I can get some firsthand feel on it. Moving on, it says here, what types of records can you request with this tool? It says here you can request documents from your official military personnel file to review and download. You can request your DD-214 or your DD-215. For those that don't know, and I'm one. I mean, I actually have I have both, right? You have a DD-214, and then I also have a DD-215. The 15 is a correction to the 14. So if they missed something, if they missed an award, if they missed medals or second medals, what have you, you can get that corrected, and they do that with the DD-215. I wish they didn't. I wish they just ripped up the old one and gave you a new one with everything on it, but they don't, or at least they didn't. So I have both. Next, report of separation or other release papers. It says here you can also request documents with information about your service, such as your orders and endorsements, performance reports, awards and decorations, qualifications, licenses and certificates, and security clearance. It says here, what happens after I request my military records? It says you'll receive an email letting you know that they've processed your request. You'll receive a second email when your request is complete and your file is ready for you to review and download. It says you can also check the status of your military records request by signing in to milConnect and going to the Personnel File tab within the Defense Personnel Records Information section. This is also where you'll review and download your files once they're ready. Are there other ways to get my military records? It says yes, and that's talking about the SF-180 form, which is actually the form I'm going to talk to you about now. So instead of talking to you about it here on the VA's website, I'm just going to scoot over here to the National Archives. So the National Archives website, they have the SF-180 form on there. Now the SF-180, its standard form 180, is your form in order to request your records. Now I will tell you, and I'm opening it up here a little bit wider so I can see it. So it's very simple. It's a 3-page document. The first is instructions. The second page is actually what you're putting your information on. And then the third is telling you where to mail it. The first page, again, is the instructions. The second page is the actual form, and it's a request pertaining to military records. It's very simple. You should know you probably know everything that you're going to need for it off the top of your head. So name, social security number, date of birth, place of birth, branch of service. Now, there's different sections. You could have active duty, reserve time, and National Guard. So you have 3 different component lines that you could put in your information. So, for example, I would put in active duty, Marine Corps, and then I would go to National Guard for Army National Guard. And then I would put my dates entered and my date released. And then you check the box if you're officer or enlisted, and your service number if no. Now, obviously, they got rid of the service number being different than your social. Now it's just your social. It says, please list last 4 duty stations if known. So you would put those in if you remember them. If this person is deceased, now here's a little caveat. If you're the surviving spouse or next of kin, you can also request this information. So is the person deceased? Yes or no? If it's no, then you're probably the veteran filling this out. If it's yes, then you need to provide the date of death the veteran had deceased. Then did this person retire from the military? Are they a retiree? Yes or no? Or are you a retiree? Yes or no? Then you're going to check the items that you're requesting. I always suggest get it all. So you have 3, 4, 5, you have several choices. So DD-214 or equivalent, checkbox, yes or no, right? Do you want it or not? Yes, you want to check it. Official military personnel file. You click that, yes or no. Medical records. Yes, probably want those. Dental records. Yes, you probably want those. Might as well get them, right? Other, if there's something else, you can specify what you're looking for. Then it asks you what the purpose is. So the purpose, different options for the purpose: benefits, right? Employment, VA loan programs, medical, genealogy, correction, personal, or other. And for two of them, which was benefits and other, it asked for an explanation. And I mean, whatever, write whatever you want. If it's benefits, you could put VA benefits. Next is the requester's name. If it's yourself, then it's yourself, right? If you're the next of kin, then that's it. Or if you are an accredited representative that's representing that person, then that would be it as well. So you would fill that stuff in, and you would also write in the name and address in which you want that the files to be sent, right? So all these records need to be sent somewhere, and that's where you put that. You sign it and date it, and then you send it off. Now, here's an important piece. That third page tells you where to send it, depending on your branch of service. So let's just, for pretends, say you were in the Army and you got out in 1980. Okay, so you were in the Army and you got out in 1980. Well, there's a little table in the back, and it has each branch segregated. So Air Force, Coast Guard, Marine Corps, Army, Navy. And so you're going to go to Army, and then it's going to have probably 5 or 6 different lines, and it says discharged, deceased, or retired between certain dates. So in this case, we said 1980, so it says here discharged, deceased, or retired between 1912 and 1992. So that would be us for this one, 1980. So enlisted, or from 1917 to 1992 for an officer. You would then pick this line and you slide over, and it says number 14. So then you have to go down to the table below that and find the box labeled number 14. So there it is. You would mail this to box number 14, which is National Personnel Records Center, Military Personnel Records at 1 Archives Drive in St. Louis, Missouri, and the zip code. And you'd mail it off. Now, let's use a different example. Let's say that it was Air Force. You were in the Air Force and you got out in 2005, right? Well, now we find the Air Force section. We find the dates between 2004, 2013. So we were saying 2005. That's box number 1. So now what's interesting here is that there's 2 columns. One is for personnel records and one is for medical or service treatment records. So don't miss that, because you would need to now, my opinion, is mail to both of them. So you're going to fill out 2 forms, and you're going to mail it to box 1 and box 11. So down here in the table below, box 1 is the Air Force Personnel Center, and that is at Joint Base Randolph in Texas. And then number 11 is the Department of Veterans Affairs Release and Information Claims Intake Center in Janesville. So those would be the 2 places that you would have to send it. So you want to make sure that you're reading that on the back page on where to send this form, the SF-180. That will get you your records. Now, a couple things. National Archives has been extremely backlogged ever since they sent everybody home due to COVID. So they've been backlogged since. If you are in a dire situation and you are trying to file a claim and get things approved and going, and let's say that you're homeless or you're in a bad medical situation, or you are over 80 years old or something like that, you would want to reach out to your congressional member and let them know, hey, look, we filed the SF-180 form to request the military records, and we need to get that expedited. You know, can you help us do that because of whatever the circumstance is? And hopefully they can help reach out to the National Archives on your behalf and hopefully get it sped up a little. So with that, Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.